Today we're going to talk about components and what I've done in the editor to make them a little bit more usable, especially in relationship to the platformer game I'm currently building. So to show you guys how all that works, I'm going to quickly put together a level. So one of the biggest changes I've made is to make sure I can edit the properties of components inside the editor itself. By using the GUI instead of relying on hotkeys. So prior I just used hotkeys to link different bits together. I can still do so, but after more and more components became available, remember all the different hotkeys became quite cumbersome. So it would be quite a good idea to use the GUI instead. So currently the right hand side of the GUI is where all the properties of components live. So, for instance, by selecting two path nodes, let me just change the running options by not showing all the normals embedding boxes. So by selecting these two path nodes, now I can edit the properties of these components by connecting these two, which is displayed by a line going from path node 1 to path node 4. So the numbers here are the number of the entities these components are part of. So for example, this is path node number 3 is over there. So that's entity number 3 that has a path node component. And path node 2, so this bit over here got selected, is entity number 2 that has a path node component. And I can edit these components by checking these checkboxes or unchecking them to link the different path nodes together. So currently we've made a little circuit that goes all around. What we need now is another entity that has a C-node component. So a C-node being a component that holds the rotation, size, also materials, and it's got collision components and all sorts that allows the various entities in the world to collide with each other. So let's extend a little bit and then make sure the component matches. So this will be our platform we're going to be moving along the circuit we just created. So we want this platform to move in this way as we connected these path nodes. So to do so, we must select this component and then a path node component. So now the platform is entity number 5, and the path node we select here is number 1. So by selecting this button here, we now have, oh dear, let's not do wireframe rendering. So now I've selected this entity with all the activatable components, CNC components, collision components, etc. is now linked to this entity that has a path node component. So what I want to do now is make sure that this thing gets activated, because by default these DIDs are deactivated. So I could have had another GUI option to say activate, not activate with a little checkbox, but that's not there yet. So instead going to rely on something else. So we now have trigger volumes that are basic collision components that can trigger entities. So by selecting the trigger volume and this entity, we can now link them. So an error appears, and we can say once an entity moves through this component, we can either activate or deactivate whatever this thing is linked to. So by clicking this button here, you see the arrow turns green, which means if anything intersects with this trigger volume, this entity will be activated. So to highlight this, let's add a spotlight, like so, and let's turn this green. So let's get the light options out for this bit, and let's make it green so we know where to go to activate. Yeah, that's probably fine. Just remember to move to the core itself. Right, then a secondary trigger volume right here. So move this down a little bit, so it's also in the corner. and also link it to this bit. But now we keep it red, so we're not going to activate it when it's triggered, but we're going to deactivate it. So we've got one that activates, one that deactivates, and also let's also add a light here. Just duplicate this one. Oh, Z-fighting is horrendous. Uh-oh, that doesn't work. Oh well, something to fix. Spotlight we're going for. Oops, slightly lower. Right, let's make this red. No, green. Green was the one we wanted. Oops. And apply, and this one, let's make it all red. So no green, all red. Boom. Okay, so let's add a player. Right here. And let's create NavMesh, and let's jump in. Wait, this is fall through. Yeah, it's on the edge. Okay, here we go. So another thing I've done as well is to make sure that when you jump into the game, I will first save the state of the editor. So thereby, what we do is make sure that once we exit the game, we load the saved state of the editor, so we jump back exactly where we were before, and anything that happened in the game will not affect the level we're currently editing. Because before, if the platforms start moving, so for example, we're moving here, and we jump off the editor now, the platform will be exactly where it is now in the game, which is undesirable. So now instead, if we back out, everything will be exactly as we left it. So see, platform is moving. So if we go to the deactivate trigger component, see it stops, activate, stop, activate. So this works quite nice, and this allows me to build, I'd say, interesting levels, because the platform we see here can not only be used for players to jump on, but we can use the same triggers to move collidable objects. So there can be doors, there can be lifts, there can be anything we want really, which is quite nice. So this should be enough to start working on some funny, interesting levels to play with. So let's back out quickly, so everything is where we left it and not how it's affected by the game. So in the game itself, we will have these pickup components, like here. So the idea is that as you play the game, you just activate your platforms, you're on top of them, and then your aim is to collect these pickup components, and once you've done so, then either you need to go to a specific point to finish the level, or once you collect the last pickup, you finish the level and you move on to the next one. Something simple like that. But the real interesting thing I want to be working on after we got a few levels is to have an AI that can play these levels by itself. So can utilize AI planning to do so. And one of the things we'd be thinking about is how the NavMesh is going to change as this platform moves about. So most levels, basically most games and games engines I've looked at, the NavMesh is generated and won't be affected that much during gameplay. You can cut holes in them, you can deactivate or change the types of NavMesh during gameplay. So for example, opening doors will deactivate or basically activate the bit doors first occupying, but then deactivate a bit of NavMesh where doors now move to. But having platforms or elevators or anything like that, where the NavMesh actually moves with these platforms, is not something I've seen yet, but I think can be very beneficial. Especially, let's jump into the game. Once you've got connections with NavMesh, for example, there could be a connection here that allows an AI to jump from here to where the platform is, like so. And for static objects, that's fine, because you know where they are, they're not going to move, it's easy. But if these platforms move, the link that might be here that allows the player to jump, might not always be valid, because it depends where the platform is in relationship with the link you created. And if you got multiple moving platforms moving from a moving platform to another moving platform, things get even more interesting. So we need some form of temporal structure that governs when these links are available in relation with how quick these, in this case, platforms move in relation to each other. And I think it would be an interesting problem to solve and see if that can be an interesting thing for other game engines. Who knows? That's a thing I've been working on, and as a test case, I can use this platformer to make this all happen. So that's all I've got for now. I'll give you guys another update once I've got a few levels in, and see how we stand. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.